Let's take a look at some breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. Just posted by The Ring magazine. Ryan Garcia will undergo hand surgery and can resume training in 6 weeks. What does this mean? First off, let's take a look at the full story here because Ring magazine always attaches their news articles to the story. Let's read it here. Yo, hey! We did that! I did not know that my video was on here. Don't shameless plug. I actually wanted to read the article because when the Ring magazine breaks a story, usually they will follow it up. And they didn't actually break the story. Chris Mannix did. But let's take a look. Ryan Garcia will undergo hand surgery and can resume training in 6 weeks. God, look at that. That's just a beautiful face. Instead of preparing to bounce back from his loss to Rolly Romero, Ryan Garcia will get himself ready for hand surgery. As first reported by SI.com's Chris Mannix, Garcia will undergo surgery this Thursday in the Los Angeles area. The surgical procedure will address damages sustained to his right hand. Now, did this happen before the Rolly Romero fight? You'd have to think so. You'd have to think that this happened in training camp or he's been dealing with it for a while, but maybe it happened during the fight. But the first thing that people are going to say, two things. One, people are going to say, oh, here's an excuse from Ryan Garcia, which is not what's being reported here. Ryan Garcia has not come out and said, oh, I lost to Rolly Romero because I needed hand surgery. He's just simply going to get surgery on his hand. So I don't want to hear that, oh, excuses. But if you're talking about Ryan Garcia fans, okay, that's one thing. Number two, the question does have to be asked, did this affect anything in the Rolly Romero fight? Did this affect Ryan not throwing as much, not being as aggressive in the Rolly Romero fight? Let's keep reading. Garcia will be in good hands. Dr. Steven Shin will handle his operation, has worked on plenty of high-profile clients in the past, including Vasily Lomachenko and Canelo Alvarez. Once he's ushered out of the operating room, Garcia will need 6 weeks of recovery. That's fine. Pretty standard. I mean, we talked about this with KSI. 6 weeks, pretty standard. How you come back after those 6 weeks and how severe this thing really is, that could be more of the issue. Like 6 weeks is standard recovery, but that's for just a normal person, not a person that uses their hands as a weapon. So even after he's fully recovered from having this surgery, you're talking about a couple more months to feel comfortable punching again, going back into sparring, and then being 100%. That's what Garcia, 26, reportedly injured himself during training camp for his May 2nd showdown against Romero. The California native seemingly knew something was off and decided to have multiple cortisone shots as opposed to calling off their bout. His insistence on powering through, however, did him no favors. This is another interesting part of what's going on with Ryan Garcia. Now, cortisone shots, for you guys that don't know, and probably most of you do, they're a steroid injection. Now, having them into your hands is kind of like what we heard when KSI was talking about having anesthetic shot into his hands to spar. I don't think that's the thing that was going on here. Like, anesthetic is a numbing agent. Cortisone essentially is a steroid that causes you to not necessarily feel and hopefully promote recovery, but it's not the same as an anesthetic. Anyway, doing this as a one-off to try to save the show in Madison Square Garden is one thing. KSI doing it after continually destroying his hand is a complete different thing. Like, KSI should have known better because he had how many fights canceled because of this hand? They could have let it recover. This seemingly is something that's just new that's popped up. I'm not a big fan of cortisone shots. I don't think that their application is a good one for people that are sustaining long-term injuries. I've had cortisone shots in my knees, in my elbows. It doesn't do anything beneficial if you are continually training, in my opinion. Cortisone's effectiveness is only as far as how long you can rest the affected area. And even then, the science is a little bit iffy on what it actually helps do. They're supposed to calm down inflammation or promote inflammation to calm down inflammation, I should say. But if you're just continually using the damn thing, it doesn't do anything. And also, there is some, again, I'm not a doctor, but I've spoken to doctors that says there is some science that thinks that, you know, continuous use of cortisone shots actually makes you more susceptible to re-injury because of, you know, how it potentially can break down certain areas after using it over and over and over. It's just, it's not a good thing to me. In this case, I understand why they did it. They wanted him to be available. Here's the thing, too, though. Ryan was so insistent in the pre-fight build that he was going to let his right hand do the talking, that he was planning on knocking Rolly out with his right hand. And this wasn't like months before. This was like fight week. He was saying stuff like that. So I'm wondering, like, maybe it was just window dressing to set up the left hook again, but he didn't throw the right hand a ton. He didn't really throw many punches, to be honest. So, again, speculate on the reasons for that, but I want to know, like, was it one of these sagittal band tears? I think the sagittal band is the one that runs right across your tendon here, like that tendon that runs right across the bone. And if it tears, or maybe even between, and if it tears, it can, like, really cause pain closing the fist. Slim had the same issue. So I don't know that we can just fully go like, oh, that was the reason. Because like one of our chatters said, like, no one was giving Rolly the benefit, or not Rolly, Shakur the benefit of the doubt when his hand was hurt, right? No one gave him that benefit of the doubt. So we have to keep it 100 and say, you know, hey, you lost. It is what it is. Although Garcia didn't grab the win, Team Haney still pushed for an immediate rematch. Those plans are off the table, at least until Garcia gets his body right. Hey, yo. And listen, it probably did in some way affect him in the fight, but that's not the reason he lost either, to me. To me, there was, I mean, a lot probably going on in Ryan's head, but also because Rolly Romero fought a good fight. That's it. He fought a good fight. We can't just overlook that Rolly fought a good fight and won and dropped him. Ryan's busted up hand ain't the reason that he got caught with a left hook and dropped. That was because Rolly set it up with jabs to the body and because Ryan has a massive susceptibility to getting caught with left hooks. What does this mean? This means that potentially we're not going to see Ryan for a long time, and that is probably the bigger story here. Inactivity for a young fighter. They just said 26 years old. He was out an entire year. We talked about it. Pretty much everybody talked about it when the fight happened, that Ryan looked like he'd been out for a while. He and Devin both looked very rusty. Now, this says 6 weeks for recovery. I think it's going to be a lot more as far as recovery, getting back into fight shape, finding a fight, coming back. We could look at 6 months. We could look at more. And that is a bad idea for a young fighter to be out off and on, off and on, off and on. I don't know what to make of this. Again, I think there were some confidence issues with Ryan. Maybe it was because of the hand. Maybe it was because of the Ostarine, because of the time off. Who knows? But I don't know if this is going to help or hurt that. Now you have to think about every time you punch, am I going to injure my hand again? I'm sure that'll go away at some point, but could be good news, could potentially be more issues with Ryan Garcia in the future. Who knows? So I think Ryan fights this year. If he does, I would say it's toward the November, December time. Is Ryan done at the highest level of boxing, do you think? I don't know. I think it's a little too early to say that. I think it's a little too early to say Ryan's completely done at the high level, but his next fight will determine that for sure. Like, if he comes out looking like that, like he did against Rolly, against somebody that's not perceived at the top level, and Rolly is not perceived that way to most people. Although I think that's a little unfair, especially now, seeing the people he's lost to. I mean, the Pitbull Cruz fight was one that's like, you know. But if he comes back and looks like that again, then yeah, I would say yeah.